welcome back to my channel. Okay, so if any of you have watched the last video or one of the videos I posted just recently expressing or showcasing the list of my TBR from last month, I had done a buddy read with my friend Nicole. So if Nicole, if you're watching this and we haven't done this gushing session of this book yet, feel free to not watch this and we can come back and watch it afterward. But anyway, I had done a buddy read with Nicole and we had decided we were going to read Jurassic Park. Now, I have seen just about every single movie that's come out. In fact, I really have rather enjoyed those movies. So I was really excited and looking forward to reading this one. And going through it, I mean, I instantly, was recognizing scenes from the movie, and I was constantly going back and forth between my memory. I've got a fairly good memory for movies, or anything I've watched. So I have to say right off the bat that in terms of what they pulled out of the movies or out of the book and put in the movie was fairly accurate for what they pulled out. The book was way more sciencey than the movie came off showing, where Malcolm, for example, in the movie he likes to spout off a lot of his, chaos theory and everything that goes with it. And in the book there is way more scientific part where if you aren't really into that kind of thing, you could almost fall asleep with him and his rambles. There was a lot of rambles where he would just go on and on. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat that I'd say the number one thing that they did differently really got to me was with Dr. Grant. Now with Grant, in the movie, I know this may seem like a small thing to some people, but to me it really bugged me. With the movie, they made him out to seem like, first of all, he was a lot younger and he was dating Ellie, which in the book is so far from the truth. She is his student, but that aside, they made him out to seem like he couldn't stand kids, like he was anti-kid with, the description and how he freaked out that kid in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, it gave a first impression that I wasn't sure if I liked him just because of how he came across. Not to say that those who don't like kids are bad people, they're not. It's just that he gave a different vibe and you just kind of accept that because that's how the movie showed him to be. But if you read the book, that is so far from the truth it's not even funny. In the book, he is the biggest love of kids, a person who just loves kids. He's a much older person in the book. He's a bachelor that, is a scientist, and Ellie is actually one of his grad students. And, she's actually engaged to be married. So there is no romantic relationship whatsoever between the two. But it really, really bugged me that they changed that one small piece about Grant, because it completely changed how Grant was in the book and in the versus the movie. In the movie, they make it out to seem like he can't stand the little boy Tim, who was so interested in him because he likes dinosaurs in the books and things. Whereas in the book, he actually ends up taking a liking to Tim. And Tim and him, they have so many different conversations and are so interested in each other because Tim is like a mini Grant. So it really irked me a little bit. I don't even say that, it irked me a lot that they changed that one fundamental thing for his personality. It completely changed the character and who Grant was. And I can't say I was really for that. So, going through the book, there was that, in the movie as well, Mr. or Dr. Hammond, however you want to call him, Hammond, he ends up being a character where in the beginning he comes across as sort of a bad guy, a little selfish. He's out to create this world and doesn't really care who he steps on to do it. So, but as the movie goes on, he kind of changes a little bit, and by the end of the movie, despite the fact that his dream failed, he ends up showing some compassion. So he goes from kind of the bad guy in the beginning to almost a compassionate good guy at the end, where he ends up caring about his grandkids and wants to help them and get them rescued and get them out of the park and try and survive and rescue those who haven't been eaten by his pet project. Unlike the book, where it didn't seem to matter what situation went wrong, didn't seem to matter the danger that his grandkids got put in. He can't stand his own grandkids. He makes comments about the kids are just a nuisance and, he wished he hadn't brought them along. or, you know, he would just go on and on, and it didn't seem to matter the fact that someone died or that this happened or that happened. You know, he just came up with these different ideas and conclusions that it was this person's fault and it was this person's fault, and he wasn't willing to take any kind of responsibility for his own actions. You know, he blames literally everybody else for, you know, the wrongings of the park. And by the end of it, he's convinced that he's just going to do this again, that he's bought another island, and he's just going to start over. That it doesn't matter whether his grandkids, you know, were in danger or not. There's no compassion for this man. By the end of the book, I just about hated him. He was, as far as I'm concerned, he's a complete and utter self-centered moron. So, and spoiler alert, I apologize if you read the book. So if you haven't read it, stop now, because I'm going to completely spoil it. Honestly, by the time, you know, the two biggest characters that get pushed on to the next book are Hammond and Malcolm. And by the end of the book, both of them are gone. Like, and you didn't even realize that until the very end. They made it out to seem like maybe Malcolm survived. So in the end, Malcolm actually did end up passing out or dying. But Hammond, he dies too. And honestly, not that I'm not vindictive or mean or anything else, but the way the character was portrayed in the book, honestly, with how he died, as far as I'm concerned, was sort of a sweet justice. I mean, instead of being gobbled up by the T-Rex, which in a lot of ways he probably could have deserved that, he ended up being, you know, killed by his own creation. But he got, as far as I'm concerned, the easy way out. As you read in the books, those little dinosaurs that are about the size of, I don't know, a meerkat, maybe a little bit smaller, those what they call copies, they have a poison in their saliva, so when they bite you, they sort of infect you with this poison, and they create sort of a paralysis state of mind where you're happy and you're calm, and it doesn't matter what's going on around you or what pain you're physically in, you're completely at peace. So in the end, these guys got him. So honestly, he died thinking he was at peace and happy, when really his own creation got him in the end. So I kind of don't feel sorry for him whatsoever. But there was a lot of things in the book that I wish they hadn't left out. Like, I get that they want to try and with the movie make it more interesting and things like that, and that's great. But I think another thing that bothered me a lot was the fact that they changed how the kids were. Like, in the movie, they make it out to seem like Tim is just the annoying little brother, and his sister is the computer geek and knows it all and everything else. You know, the only piece of accuracy that they left in there was Tim is definitely the dinosaur kid. His sister knows absolutely nothing about dinosaurs. And they kept that accurate. But, based on the book... Sorry, my throat's a little dry. Based on the book, Tim is actually the computer nerd. So everything that they throw into Lexi, the sister, was actually about Tim. There was really nothing interesting whatsoever about Lexi. Maybe that's why they did it that way in the movie. But in the book, she is that annoying sibling or kid that follows you around that you can't get away from when you're in school. There's always that one kid that is just, you know, they're whiny and they complain about absolutely everything, and this isn't fair and that's not fair and I want my turn and blah blah blah. Like, that's how she was. And honestly, by the time the book was not even halfway through the book, I was so done with her. It didn't even seem to matter the situation. You know, they're in these dangerous, life-threatening situations, and all she cares about is getting her turn. Where it's, come on, be grateful to the fact that you're still breathing and just shut it. So, but no, I mean, I really, really enjoyed the book. It really sucks that Malcolm ended up biting it in the end. I liked him. I actually enjoyed his theories more than I did in the movie, just because he goes on more about it. So there was definitely a lot of differences. I have to say too that, you know, how they go about showing off the whole DNA thing and the reproduction thing, I like how they did it in the book more than how they did it in the movie. In the movie, they just came to the conclusion that, yeah, okay, straightforward, the DNA changed from this to that, and that's how they ended up reproducing, and okay, that was the bottom line. and that's still how it worked out in the book, but there was way more to it and how they discovered it. I don't know, it's just, I happen to really appreciate how they went about it in the book more than how they did in the movie. Not to say that the movie isn't great, I still love the movie, so if you separate the two, perfect. But if you start comparing them, not so much. So, but yeah, that are my thoughts, comments, and feelings on this particular book. I'm really looking forward to and hoping that maybe money works out and I can get a hold of the second one, and then Nikki and I can do a buddy read on this one, so, or rather that one. Alright, so thank you again so much for watching. If you happen to like this video, give it a thumbs up. I kind of rambled on a little bit longer, so I apologize that the video is just a little bit longer than it should have been. But again, if you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Leave any comments you have below. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. Thank you again so much for watching.